Your liver can whisper for years while your energy, digestion, and mood quietly unravel. Overlook the signals, and ordinary habits can slowly raise the risk you'd rather avoid. Stay with me for a calm, actionable way to spot early signs and begin protecting yourself. No hype, just steps that work. Before your energy dipped, before your favorite jeans felt tight at the waist, your body probably tried to tell you something in a very quiet way. The liver almost never shouts, it nudges. That's why the first signs rarely show up as pain. They arrive as patterns, subtle changes in how you wake up, how you digest a typical American breakfast, how your mood slides after a sweet latte or a late-night drive-through. Today, I want to help you notice those patterns early, without fear and without gimmicks, and to give you simple actions that genuinely make a difference. I'm going to make a clear promise. If you stay with me to the end, you'll learn the exact safe way I prepare a simple bitter cruciferous plate at home, no exotic powders. And you'll also get a small bonus technique to gently amplify the effect using a common pantry spice. This is educational guidance, not medical advice, and it's important to personalize anything you try with your own health professional, especially if you take medications or have specific conditions. Precision matters here. With health, the wrong amount or the wrong preparation can backfire. Why start with the liver? Because it's working non-stop while you work, parent, commute, and scroll. It receives more than just food. It processes the coffee refills, the syrupy sodas at the burger place, the barbecue nights, the weekend beers, and yes, even some over-the-counter pain relievers that many people take after a tough workout. The surprising part is that early stress in this system often hides in plain sight. Routine lab results can look normal, while day-to-day signals are already changing. That doesn't mean anything catastrophic is happening. It simply means the dashboard light can flicker before the engine fails. Learning to read that flicker is a life skill. Let's make it practical. Over the next 48 hours, pay attention to 3 windows of time. First, the morning window. How do you feel within 30 minutes of getting out of bed before coffee? Score your alertness from 0 to 10. If you wake groggy but feel an artificial surge only after a jumbo coffee, that's a clue. Not a diagnosis, a clue. Second, the post-meal window. About 60-90 minutes after a typical lunch, especially if it includes fried foods, creamy sauces, or a soda refill. Do you feel heavy, slightly nauseated, or unusually sleepy? Score that too. Third, the late afternoon window. Notice mood and clarity around the time many people reach for donuts, vending machine snacks, or an energy drink. Irritability or fogginess here often lines up with what happened earlier on your plate. A few lifestyle calibrations can start today. Hydrate when you wake up. Plain water, not lemon water in extreme quantities, because acids and enamel don't love that habit when it's overdone. Eat a real breakfast that includes protein, oatmeal with walnuts and a spoon of peanut butter, or eggs with sautéed greens, before your coffee. The order matters for many people. Swap syrup-heavy coffees for brewed, paper-filtered coffee with milk you tolerate, and notice whether your mid-morning focus steadies. At lunch, try adding a small portion of bitter greens before your main meal. Arugula, escarole, or radicchio, tossed with olive oil and lemon. This is not a cure-all, but it's a gentle nudge to your digestive rhythm. Here's a small revelation that surprises a lot of folks. What you combine can matter as much as what you consume. A sugary soda with a high-fat meal, followed by sitting still for hours, is a triple hit that many busy Americans repeat without thinking. Add late-night snacking, and the liver's overnight housekeeping gets cramped. You don't have to live like a monk. Instead, stack small wins. Take a 10-minute walk after lunch or dinner. Cap your soda habit to specific moments and keep it to a small can, not a free refill. Shift heavy foods earlier in the day. These are ordinary, realistic choices that reduce strain on a system you'll never see working, yet you'll feel the results in your energy and mood. Another eye-opener, the waistline measure. Without obsessing over weight, wrap a tape around your waist at the level of your navel and compare it to your height. A ratio above 1/2 is a nudge to pay attention. It doesn't diagnose a disease, but it does hint at how your liver and metabolism are negotiating the modern menu. Tailgating hot dogs, saucy ribs, ranch-dressed salads, and late-night Tex-Mex. Use it as feedback, not a verdict. A note on safety, because this matters. Resist the temptation to megadose herbs or supplements because you saw a dramatic claim. Natural does not mean unlimited. Turmeric, milk thistle, dandelion. These can be reasonable in culinary amounts, but concentrated extracts, high doses, or mixing them with medications can be risky. Cooking methods matter too. Overheating delicate greens or drowning vegetables in heavy dressings can undo the benefit you're aiming for. The goal is steady, repeatable routines, not extremes. If you take one idea from this first segment, let it be this: the body leaves breadcrumbs. Small shifts in energy, digestion, and mood after typical American meals are often the earliest signals that your internal housekeeping needs support. Track, adjust, observe. Those 3 verbs, done consistently, beat quick fixes every time. I'll hold to my promise later and share the safe step-by-step kitchen method, plus a simple bonus that helps your body do what it already wants to do. Until then, keep your notes, keep your curiosity, and keep a friendly eye on how your daily choices feel a few hours later. The next tip is one of the most important, and ignoring it won't just blunt your results, it can also bring unintended side effects. I'll explain why in a calm, evidence-based way. You've started to notice what your body says after ordinary, very American moments. A syrupy coffee on the way to work, a fast, casual lunch with a creamy dressing, the late afternoon mood slide that makes a vending machine look unusually friendly. Let's turn those observations into something you can measure and improve. This is not a diagnosis. It's a practical framework to catch patterns early and respond with everyday choices that respect your biology and your time. Begin with a simple 48-hour log. Keep it on your phone. For each meal or snack, write down 3 things: the time, the key features of the food, fried, creamy, high sugar, cruciferous, whole grain, and the way you feel at 60-90 minutes and again at 3 hours. Energy, digestion, and mood scored from 0 to 10. Did your energy crash after a burger, fries, and a refill soda? Did you feel bloated after a late Tex-Mex dinner heavy on queso? Did your irritability rise on the drive home after an energy drink on an empty stomach? These small scores tell a larger story. Now add 2 objective anchors to that log. First, the waist-to-height ratio. No need to obsess, just measure your waist at the navel and compare it to your height. Over 1/2 is a nudge to prioritize supportive habits: sleep, movement, fiber, and balanced meals. Second, morning hydration and urine color. When you wake, drink a glass of water and notice whether your urine lightens by midday. Persistently dark, despite drinking enough water, is not a diagnosis, but it is a sign to deepen your attention and talk to your clinician if it continues. Turn to the triad of early signals: energy, digestion, mood, and make one micro-experiment for each. For energy, change your order. Instead of a pastry with sweet coffee first thing, try breakfast built on protein and fiber, oatmeal with walnuts, Greek yogurt with berries, or eggs and sautéed spinach, and drink coffee after eating. Many people find this steadies the mid-morning focus without needing another refill. For digestion, introduce a palm-sized portion of bitter greens as a tiny starter: arugula, escarole, radicchio, dressed with olive oil and lemon. For mood, take a 10-15-minute walk after lunch, especially if your meal included heavier fats. Movement is quiet medicine for post-meal clarity. Here's a curveball that changes the game for a lot of kitchens. Cruciferous vegetables can do more when we treat them gently. Lightly steam broccoli until just tender and bright green, let it rest a minute, and then toss with a pinch of ground mustard seed. That small step helps unlock helpful compounds without megadosing anything. And because preparation matters, keep the portion sensible and the seasoning modest. More isn't always better. This is culinary support, not a cure. Another leverage point is timing. Many of us backload the day with calories: tailgating snacks, big dinners, dessert, then couch time. Try shifting a portion of that energy earlier. Make lunch the day's anchor and keep dinner simpler. If you like barbecue, enjoy it at midday with a side of slaw that's light on mayo and heavy on cabbage. If you love sandwiches, Trade the extra mayo for avocado and add a pile of crunchy greens. If soda is a ritual, choose the smallest size and pair it with a meal rather than sipping it all afternoon. Speaking of rituals, watch the harmless extras that add up. Ranch dressing, barbecue sauce, sweetened coffee creamers. These are easy places to reduce strain without feeling deprived. Mix your own quick dressing with olive oil, lemon juice, and a pinch of salt. It takes less time than standing in line at a drive-thru. Swap dessert 4 nights a week for berries or a baked apple with cinnamon, and keep 2 nights for your favorite treat, slowly and mindfully. Consistency beats perfection. Safety note, delivered calmly. Be cautious with concentrated herbal teas and supplements marketed as liver cleanses. Culinary amounts used in food are very different from extracts in dropper bottles. If you take medications, especially those processed by the liver, check with your clinician or pharmacist before adding anything new. And remember, more spice does not equal more benefit. A 1/4 teaspoon can be a hero. A heaping tablespoon can irritate your stomach or interact with something you take. Let's put your log to work. After 2 days, scan for the strongest patterns. Do crashes cluster after fried lunches? Do irritability and mental fog follow sweetened coffees on an empty stomach? Does a small pre-meal salad shift the way the rest of the meal feels? Choose one pattern to address for the next week. 1. Replace the fried side with roasted potatoes or a side salad. Add a cruciferous vegetable to either lunch or dinner every day. Take that 10-minute walk after meals. The goal is to create a feedback loop you can feel. Behavior, body response, small adjustment, better response. There's one more quietly powerful habit. Eat a little earlier in the evening and stop eating 2 to 3 hours before bed. This gives your overnight housekeeping crew, yes, the one in your liver, room to work. You'll often notice calmer digestion, better morning energy, and fewer late-night cravings. Pair that with 7 to 8 hours of regular sleep, ideally with a consistent wake time even on weekends. Your biology loves rhythm. If you followed along to this point, you've already built a personal dashboard, a simple log, a waist-to-height check, and 3 micro-experiments that tune your energy, digestion, and mood. None of this is dramatic, and that's the point. We're exchanging noise for signal, guesses for gentle data. Keep the tone of your self-experiment compassionate and curious. This is about feeling better, not passing a test. As we continue, I'll keep my earlier promise to show the exact, safe kitchen method and a small, evidence-informed bonus to support your body's natural housekeeping. For now, protect your wins, eat real foods most of the time, keep portions moderate, move after meals, and take notes you can trust. The next tip is one of the most important, and ignoring it won't just blunt your results. It can also bring unintended side effects. I'll explain why in a calm, evidence-based way. You've been paying closer attention to those small fluctuations, how your mind clears or dims after certain meals, how your stomach settles or protests, how your energy rises without drama when breakfast has protein and dips when lunch leans fried. Let's turn those observations into simple, practical markers you can track without special devices. None of these are diagnoses. They are gentle signals that help you decide where to place your effort, so you don't waste time on trendy fixes that don't move the needle. Start with the easiest instrument you already own, your belt. 2 notches looser or tighter across a month is worth noticing, but there's a more reliable check you can do today. Measure your waist at the navel, then divide by your height. If that fraction sits above 1/2, consider it a clear nudge to prioritize the habits we've been shaping. Real food, earlier dinners, walks after meals, vegetables that bring natural bitterness. This ratio doesn't label you or predict your future. It simply reflects how your internal housekeeping is handling modern convenience foods and long car commutes. Anchor number 2 is the post-meal energy score, a tiny test you can repeat every day. After lunch, set a timer for 75 minutes. When it rings, rate your alertness from 0 to 10. If your score is below 6 on most days, ask what typically sits on that plate. Burgers and fries with a syrupy soda? A giant burrito with extra queso and a sweet tea? Try a controlled swap. Keep the main entree, but trade the fries for a side salad heavy on cabbage or broccoli slaw, and limit the drink to water, or a small sparkling water with a squeeze of lemon. Run the same test for 3 days. If your score climbs even 1 point, you just found leverage you can feel. Third, digestion feedback. You don't need complicated charts, just a simple consistency check and timing note. When meals cluster late at night or include heavy cream-based dressings and deep-fried items, mild nausea, bloating, or a sense of fullness sitting high under the ribs often shows up. Notice especially what happens after takeout eaten on the couch, then compare it to a night with a lighter dinner. Soup, roasted vegetables, and a palm-sized portion of protein, finished 2 to 3 hours before bed. This comparison teaches more than 1,000 internet tips because it is your biology answering your choices in real time. Hydration rounds out your dashboard. On waking, drink a glass of water and check in with yourself by midday. If your urine remains dark despite steady intake of fluids, consider this a prompt to look at salt-heavy items scattered through the morning, breakfast sandwiches, cured meats, salty snacks, and to speak with your clinician if the pattern sticks around. Again, none of this replaces professional care. It steers your everyday decisions toward what helps. Now the part many people miss, combinations. A high-sugar soda beside a high-fat lunch, followed by hours of sitting, adds up differently than the individual parts. Add an energy drink on an empty stomach during the afternoon slump, and you may notice irritability or brain fog that seems unrelated to lunch. Your log will catch this. Pair heavy meals with even a brief walk, set a screen time boundary for the late afternoon, and shift your caffeinated drinks to earlier in the day and always after food. These small edits aren't glamorous, but they reduce the strain you can't see and improve the signals you can feel. Because preparation matters, let's talk about gentle cooking. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, do their best work when we don't punish them with heat. Steam or sauté just until bright and tender, then let them rest for a minute off the heat. A small pinch of ground mustard seed added afterward can help you get more from the vegetable without chasing capsules or concentrates. Keep the portion moderate and the flavor simple. You're not trying to win a chef's contest. You're teaching your body a rhythm it can trust. There's also a quiet factor in many American kitchens: sauces and dressings. A few tablespoons of a sweet, creamy sauce can turn a great plate into a sleepy afternoon. Mix your own quick dressing, olive oil, lemon, a pinch of salt, maybe a little Dijon, and toss it lightly. Taste the vegetable. When you let ingredients be themselves, you often need less of everything else. Let's build a 7-day mini experiment so you can watch these markers change. Day 1, 2, log as usual, no changes, just observe. Day 3 to 4, keep meals familiar, but add a bitter green starter at lunch and dinner, arugula, radicchio, or escarole. Day 5 to 6, hold the starter and instead add 1 cruciferous vegetable cooked gently once a day. Day 7, combine both and take a 10-15-minute walk after your 2 biggest meals. Score energy at the 75-minute mark, note digestive comfort, and jot 1 sentence about mood. At the end, compare with your waist-to-height note from day 1 and how your belt feels. Micro shifts add up. A calm word on common pitfalls. Don't overcorrect. Mega-dosing spices or herbs, drinking extremely concentrated teas, or attempting crash cleanses can upset your stomach, interact with medications, and derail the steady progress you're building. Respect your body's pace. If you take medications, especially those processed by the liver, check in with your clinician before adding new supplements. Culinary amounts of spices inside real meals are a safer, more sustainable path for most people. Finally, place your attention where it pays the most: timing, combinations, and gentle prep. Eat earlier when you can, pair heavier foods with movement, keep sweet drinks small and with meals rather than between them, and choose vegetables that bring a hint of bitterness. Your markers, waist comfort, post-meal energy, digestive ease, will tell you you're on track long before lab numbers budge. Keep your log going, protect the habits that already help, and be patient. You're creating a feedback loop you can manage without apps or gadgets. The next tip is one of the most important, and ignoring it won't just blunt your results, it can also bring unintended side effects. I'll explain why in an even-handed, evidence-informed way. You've built a personal dashboard, a simple log, a waist-to-height check, a post-meal energy score, and a better sense of how timing and combinations shape your day. Now it's time to make those numbers move with food that feels like home. Familiar flavors, grocery store ingredients, and preparation that respects the body's signals without turning dinner into homework. Begin with a plate that quietly does a lot of work. Think of it as a small daily anchor. At lunch or dinner, place a handful of bitter greens on the plate, arugula, escarole, or radicchio, dressed very lightly with olive oil and lemon. On the same plate, add a cruciferous vegetable that's been treated gently, steamed broccoli until just bright and tender, roasted Brussels sprouts pulled from the oven before they darken, or quick sautéed cabbage with a splash of lemon. Let the vegetables rest off the heat for a minute, then finish them with a tiny pinch of ground mustard seed. This step, the small pinch, added after cooking, is a practical way to coax more value from the vegetable without relying on capsules or complicated protocols. Keep portions moderate and seasoning modest. More isn't always better. Round out the meal with a palm-sized portion of protein you enjoy and tolerate. Grilled chicken, baked fish, beans cooked soft with bay leaf, or a simple tofu sauté. If you love barbecue, there's room for that too. Aim for midday servings, trim obvious fat, and serve with a cabbage-heavy slaw that leans lemony instead of sugary. If sandwiches are your thing, swap heavy mayo for a thin layer of avocado, pile on crunchy greens, and consider whole grain bread that lists whole wheat or rye first on the label. These tweaks are not about deprivation. They're about lowering friction inside a system that already works hard for you. Sauces and dressings deserve a closer look because they're where stealthy calories and sugars hide. Homemade takes less time than ordering out. Whisk 2 parts olive oil with 1 part lemon juice, add a pinch of salt, maybe a whisper of Dijon, and you're done. For a barbecue night, brush meats with a spice rub instead of a glaze and offer sauce on the side. Taste the food first, then add only what you need. This small pause often halves the amount used and doubles your satisfaction. Timing matters almost as much as ingredients. Many Americans eat light by day and heavy by night, then wonder why sleep feels restless and mornings feel thick. Flip the script when you can. Make lunch the day's anchor and keep dinner simple. If you love dessert, choose fruit most nights and save richer treats for 1 or 2 evenings each week, eaten slowly and after a balanced meal. Close the kitchen 2 to 3 hours before bed. This gives your overnight housekeeping crew space to work, and it often shows up as calmer digestion and steadier morning energy. Beverages can either smooth the path or crowd it. Brewed coffee through a paper filter, enjoyed after breakfast, is a friend for many people. Energy drinks on an empty stomach are not. If soda is part of your routine, choose the smallest size and pair it with a meal rather than sipping it between meals. Sparkling water with a squeeze of lemon or a splash of 100% fruit juice is a satisfying middle ground that doesn't ask your liver to juggle sugar all afternoon. Let's translate this into a week you can actually live. Shop once with a short list. Bitter greens, 2 cruciferous options, lemons, a good olive oil, a small jar of mustard seed, your preferred protein, berries or apples for dessert, nuts for crunch, and whole grain bread or brown rice. Batch cook a tray of vegetables on Sunday, pulling them from the oven while they're still bright. Store the mustard seed separately and add that tiny pinch only when you reheat gently or toss the vegetables warm. Keep a container of arugula washed and ready. When dinner time comes on a busy Wednesday, your anchor plate assembles in minutes. A calm note on safety, sharp increases in spices, herbal extracts, or concentrated teas can irritate your stomach or interact with medications. Culinary amounts inside balanced meals are the safer route for most people. If you take medications, especially those processed by the liver, check in with your clinician or pharmacist before experimenting. Be mindful with alcohol. Many adults do well with alcohol-free days and with serving sizes that fit within health guidelines. Avoid mixing alcohol with over-the-counter pain relievers and keep hydration steady. Movement is part of the recipe. A 10 to 15-minute walk after lunch or dinner is one of the most underestimated tools you can use. It helps your body handle the meal you just ate and clears your head before the evening routine. If you sit for work, stand up each hour and do a short lap. It sounds trivial, but your post-meal energy scores will tell you it matters. As the week unfolds, watch how your anchors influence the signals you track. Does the bitter green starter change how full you feel? Do the gently cooked crucifers, finished with that small pinch of mustard seed, influence your 75-minute alertness score? Does an earlier dinner smooth your sleep and lift your morning mood? Keep what works, adjust what doesn't, and remember that consistency beats intensity. You don't need perfection. You need a repeatable rhythm that fits inside everyday American life. School drop-offs, freeway traffic, soccer practice, a neighbor's cookout. Real food, sensible portions, modest seasoning, smart timing, and brief walks can turn the liver's quiet whispers into clear feedback you can use. Stay steady, stay curious, and keep the focus on actions you can repeat next week and the week after. The next tip is one of the most important, and ignoring it won't just blunt your results. It can also bring unintended side effects. I'll explain why in a balanced, informative way. You've gathered real-world data about your body, how energy rises after a protein-first breakfast, how digestion behaves when dinner lands earlier, how mood steadies with a brief walk after a heavier meal. Let's turn those wins into a simple daily rhythm that fits inside busy, very American routines. Morning commutes, school drop-offs, back-to-back meetings, and the 5 p.m. snack vortex. This is a routine you can complete in small pockets of time, done consistently enough to nudge your liver's quiet housekeeping in the right direction. Start at the moment your feet hit the floor. Drink a glass of water, not a gallon, just a glass. Step outside for 1 to 3 minutes of daylight if possible. Even brief light exposure helps your body set a daytime rhythm that supports evening rest. Then eat before coffee. Keep breakfast unfancy and repeatable. Oatmeal with walnuts and a spoon of peanut butter. Or 2 eggs with a handful of sautéed spinach and a slice of whole grain toast. Or Greek yogurt with berries and a sprinkle of chopped nuts. Brew coffee through a paper filter and drink it after you've eaten. That small reordering often smooths mid-morning energy without needing a second refill. Pack a first aid snack for the day. A palm-sized portion of almonds or walnuts, or a small container of hummus with carrot sticks. The goal isn't grazing, it's preventing the emergency vending machine run that leaves you foggy by 3 p.m. If you know lunch will be late, use the snack strategically and pair it with water. Make lunch the anchor meal when you can. Begin with a handful of bitter greens, lightly dressed with olive oil and lemon. Add a cruciferous vegetable treated gently, broccoli steamed until bright, cabbage sautéed quickly, Brussels sprouts roasted and pulled before they darken. Let the vegetable rest a minute off heat, then finish with a tiny pinch of ground mustard seed. Add a palm-sized portion of protein you enjoy, grilled chicken, beans, baked salmon, tofu, and a modest portion of a whole grain or potato. The plate should look like food you'd serve a friend. Familiar, moderate, satisfying. Walk for 10 to 15 minutes as soon as you can after eating. Around the office, in a parking lot, or on a neighborhood loop, location is less important than the habit. If weather or schedules block you, do 2 or 3 5-minute walks later in the afternoon. Many people feel the difference in their 75-minute alertness score with this one change. The mid-afternoon window is where good intentions often go to die. Plan for it. If you like coffee, keep a modest second cup, but still after a snack, not on an empty stomach. Better yet, choose tea or sparkling water with a squeeze of lemon. Pair caffeine with protein or fiber, an apple with peanut butter, a small piece of cheese with whole grain crackers, or leftover roasted vegetables. Set a 10-minute reset timer. Stand, stretch, look at something far away, and take 5 slow breaths. It sounds too simple to matter until you see how it changes your next decision. For dinner, flip the common script. Keep it earlier and lighter than you're used to when life allows. Bowls of vegetable soup, roasted vegetables with a side of beans, a simple stir-fry heavy on cabbage and broccoli with a cup of brown rice. If you're cooking for a family that loves American classics, serve burger patties with a big tray of roasted Brussels sprouts and a crunchy slaw that leans lemony instead of creamy. Offer sauces on the side and taste before pouring. Close the kitchen 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. That margin gives your overnight housekeeping crew room to work, and it often shows up as calmer digestion and steadier morning energy. Keep beverages boring in the best way. Water through the day. Coffee after food, not before. If soda is a cherished ritual, choose the smallest size and enjoy it with a meal rather than sipping all afternoon. Energy drinks on an empty stomach are a frequent culprit in the irritability and fog cycle. Treat them like the rare exceptions they should be. Build a weekly prep habit that protects busy days. On one calm afternoon, wash a container of arugula or escarole. Steam a batch of broccoli until bright, then cool it and store. When you reheat, do it gently and add that tiny mustard seed pinch at the end. Roast a tray of mixed vegetables, pulling them while they're still vibrant. Cook a pot of beans with bay leaf or buy low-sodium canned beans and rinse them well. Mix a small jar of olive oil and lemon so your default dressing is ready. Keep nuts and fruit where you can see them. Convenience shapes outcomes. Navigate social food without losing momentum. At a cookout, fill half your plate with slaw, grilled vegetables, or a green salad, then choose your favorite protein and enjoy it slowly. Skip the reflexive second soda. At a tailgate, bring a big container of crunchy cabbage salad and a bowl of roasted potatoes. Nobody complains when the sides taste good, and your post-meal energy score will thank you. A level word on safety. Avoid eyeballing strong spices or herbal extracts because you saw a dramatic claim. Use culinary amounts inside actual meals. A quarter teaspoon here, a pinch there. Be mindful if you take medications. Some herbs and concentrated teas can interact. Alcohol fits better with alcohol-free days, and mixing it with over-the-counter pain relievers is a pairing worth avoiding. When in doubt, ask a clinician or pharmacist who knows your context. Before bed, invest in the morning. Dim screens, cool the room slightly, and give your body a routine. Brush, stretch for 2 minutes, breathe slowly, lights out. Regular sleep amplifies all the other choices without costing you extra willpower. You don't need perfect days, you need repeatable ones. This routine respects the realities of North American life while quietly steering your biology towards steadier energy, calmer digestion, and a more even mood. Track your 75-minute score after lunch. Note how your belt feels over time, and watch how small, consistent acts outperform heroic, short-lived pushes. The next tip is one of the most important, and ignoring it won't just blunt your results. It can also bring unintended side effects. I'll explain why in a calm, evidence-based way. You've built the rhythm. Protein before coffee, bitter greens before the main meal, gentle cooking, small walks after eating, earlier dinners when life allows. Now it's time to deliver on the promise I made at the beginning. The central kitchen method that many people find both doable and surprisingly satisfying, and a small bonus that can quietly boost its effect. This is culinary guidance, not medical advice. Personalize it with your health professional, especially if you take medications or have specific conditions. Here's the anchor plate prepared the way that preserves what you're aiming for without turning dinner into a chemistry set. Start with fresh broccoli florets, rinsed and shaken dry. Set a pot with an inch of water to a lively simmer and steam the florets for 3 to 4 minutes, no more, until they turn bright green and just tender. Remove them from the heat and let them rest for 2 minutes on a plate. This pause matters. While they rest, grind or crush mustard seeds to a coarse powder if you haven't already. Toss the warm broccoli with a flat half teaspoon of the ground mustard seed so it clings lightly, then add a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, a squeeze of lemon, and a pinch of salt. Add a handful of arugula or escarole right on top. The residual warmth will soften the leaves without wilting them to mush. If you enjoy crunch, scatter a tablespoon of chopped walnuts. That's it. Simple, repeatable, and friendly to weeknights. Why these details? Short steaming keeps the color and texture while avoiding the soggy, overcooked profile that turns people away from vegetables. Letting the broccoli rest off heat before finishing helps protect delicate compounds. The tiny post-cooking pinch of mustard seed is a low-effort way to support what you want from cruciferous vegetables without relying on supplements. The lemon and olive oil keep flavors bright and satisfying so you don't feel like you're eating a chore. Portions remain modest on purpose. Build the rest of the plate around a palm-sized serving of protein, grilled chicken, baked fish, beans or tofu, and a small portion of a whole grain or potatoes. If you're cooking for people who love American staples, plate the broccoli-arugula combo beside grilled burgers and a bowl of crunchy slaw that leans lemony instead of sugary. Offer ranch or barbecue sauce on the side and taste before pouring. Familiar food, small edits. Frequency and fit are where many people win. Aim for this anchor plate 5 to 7 times per week, most often at lunch or an early dinner. Keep leftovers friendly by storing the broccoli plain and adding the mustard seed, oil, and lemon only when reheating gently or serving at room temperature. Skip aggressive microwaving that steams the joy out of vegetables. If you miss a day, don't chase perfection. Just return the next day and stack another small win. Safety is non-negotiable. Culinary amounts of spices are generally better tolerated than extracts, but more isn't better. Resist doubling the mustard seed or drowning the plate in oil. If you have gallbladder concerns or a history of certain digestive issues, go slower with very bitter greens and speak with your clinician about portion sizes that suit you. Alcohol fits better with alcohol-free days, and it's wise to avoid mixing it with over-the-counter pain relievers. Hydration remains your quiet ally. Drink water steadily through the day rather than chugging at night. Here's the promised bonus that lives in an ordinary spice jar. Make a small, dry mix you can sprinkle sparingly. 2 tablespoons of finely grated and dried lemon zest. 1 tablespoon of dried rosemary crushed between your fingers. 1 tablespoon of ground coriander, a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, and a small pinch of black pepper. Store it in a small glass jar. To use, dust no more than a 1/2 teaspoon over the finished plate, up to 3 times per week. The point is, accent, not overload. Taste first. If the flavor feels too bold, cut the amount in half. You can also rub a 1/4 teaspoon onto grilled chicken or fish before cooking, or stir a pinch into a bowl of beans. Keep your portions small and your palate in charge. Timing and combinations still matter with this method. Enjoy the anchor plate on days you also plan a short walk after the meal. If a social event leans heavy, barbecue, pizza, game day spreads, pair your favorites with a large scoop of the broccoli-arugula combo and keep sweet drinks small and with food. If dessert is part of the evening, save richer options for 1 or 2 nights a week and enjoy fruit most nights. You're not trying to live like a monk. You're trying to live like someone who listens to the body's quiet signals before they escalate. What you're really building is a conversation with your biology. The liver rarely complains out loud, but it responds to patterns. When you cook gently, portion sanely, and move a little after meals, energy steadies, digestion smooths, and mood becomes less bumpy. Ignore those patterns for months. Late-night eating, frequent refills of sugary drinks, heavy sauces, long stretches of sitting, and the system can drift toward problems that are harder to unwind. The good news is that small, repeatable actions accumulate in your favor. If this guide has helped you hear and translate those whispers into daily choices, consider sharing it with someone who's been feeling sluggish or out of sorts. Leave a like to help this message reach more people, and subscribe for more practical, calm health education built for real life. Your attention is powerful. Where you place it each day becomes the life you live. Stay curious, stay kind to yourself, and keep the rhythm going. Plate by plate, walk by walk, week by week. The next tip is one of the most important, and ignoring it won't just blunt your results, it can also bring unintended side effects. I'll explain why in a calm, evidence-based way.